Hey there, fellow adult collectors, fellow comic book aficionados. Welcome back. David Eon and the lovely and talented Miss Lady Pop Hunter hiding behind the camera. And we are continuing with our series on keys, key comic book issues, or affordable keys, or unrecognized potential keys. I like to look at keys, and I don't look at them in terms of spec, like, oh, they're going to appear in a show and it's going to be worth a fortune. I don't go in for all that. That's only a temporary thing. That's a roller coaster ride of value, and it's going to come back down anyways. These are keys that I think are far more significant than they're given credit for. And all three of these are connected to each other. There's a fourth one that could go in here, but I'm not going to show that today. It would go about right there. But anyways, this is Now Comics, and some of you have probably never heard of Now Comics. Now Comics, of course, was one of those independent producers of comics, primarily functioning in the 80s, and that is Miss Kitty trying to knock down my display. Miss Kitty cameo for Miss Kitty. Hello, baby. How you doing? Insists on sitting on my lap right now, but that's okay. Like many independent companies, Blackthorn and who was it? The most famous of which, Mirage Studios, that produced the Ninja Turtles. There was a lot of independent contractors back in the day that didn't quite make it. Now Comics became a different company, but they are the original holders of the license for Terminator. And so we start off with Rust. That's Rust number 12. Yeah, Rust number 12, August 1988. And Rust number 12, which Rust isn't a very interesting comic. However, it's the first appearance of the Terminator in comic books. The official Terminator from the films appeared in Rust number 12 in a short story in the back, which was a preview to the next book that I'm going to show you. And I'll go ahead and I'll show you in here. You see right there, I'll be back. But you look at the Rust here, that's Rust. And you read the regular story, and then you get further into the book, and this story ends, and then there starts a preview of the Terminator. I don't know how well you can see that. She's pushing my arm and trying to rub on my hand here. Come on, Miss Kitty, give me a break. But this is a preview of an upcoming title based entirely on the Terminator film. So this is the first appearance of the Terminator in comics right here. And Now Comics did not produce very many books in there. And they had some interesting titles. They had Married with Children. They had Speed Racer. They were doing a lot. They had a lot of interesting contracts, comic books. And they didn't make very many. And the printing quality's not the best. So this is not an easy book to find. You know, this is a book that if you looked it up on eBay, you'll probably see a dozen copies for sale. And they'd be in roughly the $20 range, and not in the best physical condition either, because they didn't hold up very well. So there's an attrition issue. Now, the very next month, September 1988, here's your next key, and that is Terminator number 1, the Now Comics edition of Terminator number 1. And again, not very many of these were produced. The physical quality isn't the best. So it's tough to find this in a high grade, just like it's hard to find Rust in a high grade. This one I purchased off the shelf in my local comic shop, and you can see printing errors on the back of this book. You see where it looks like it's all scuffed up? That's a pretty common defect. This was the best copy I could find at the time. They were all like this, and worse. So this is not a book that's easy to find in halfway decent condition. And, you know, I'll just go ahead and flip through a little bit here. As you see, it hasn't been opened much. So very first Terminator, which eventually was picked up by Dark Horse, and I think most people recognize the Terminator in Dark Horse because they did Terminator and Aliens and Predator and RoboCop and all of that stuff, and they did a fairly decent job with it. They did better with the transfer of the Terminator from Now Comics than they did with other characters that they got licensing to from other independent comics when they went out of business. I'm thinking of Roachmill in particular, which they did such a poor job of picking up Roachmill from Blackthorn Publishing that in the very last issue of Roachmill from Dark Horse, they actually break the fourth wall and address the audience directly and apologize for ruining the series. We from Dark Horse, on behalf of Dark Horse Comics, wish to apologize for ruining such a great title, blah, 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 and then you never saw Roachmill again in comics. So they did a good job picking this up. And again, this is not an easy book to find in decent condition. There's probably a dozen of these for sale on eBay. And again, you can probably pick this up for less than $20. Now, there was a mini-series that had 2 issues, and then this one, which is from a 5-issue miniseries, and I think this is March 1990. And this one is historically significant. This is a historically significant key because this is Alex Ross's first work in comic books. Alex Ross, who I'm sure many of you know who that is, and you can probably see by how detailed this cover is, because he did the cover and all of the interior artwork. He's as big as McFarlane in comic books, or Jim Lee, or any of them. And once again, just like all these others, and you can just see the detail there of how good of an artist Alex Ross was, even in 1990. This is another one. You're not going to find probably more than a dozen of these for sale on eBay. And it's going to be difficult to find one in a high grade. Anything higher than an 8 on any of these, and you're batting 1,000. Look at that artwork. And unlike McFarlane's first work in comics, which, if I remember correctly, is Don't You Do It, Miss Kitty, is Coyote from Epic Comics, which, of course, is a division of Marvel. 1984, Coyote number 11, I want to say. And he did, like, a short story in the back of Coyote. And even in, like, an 8 or so, you're going to pay $100 for it, because it's McFarlane's first work. The Coyote book and stories are not that interesting. But because it's McFarlane's first work in comics, yeah, you'll pay $100 for that in an 8 all day. This one, which is harder to find in decent shape and more scarce than that Epic Comics Coyote number 11, you probably wouldn't pay $10 for this one. And again, because it's Alex Ross's first work in comics, I think that makes this pretty historically significant and underrated as a book, and most likely because most people have never heard of Now Comics. They don't know anything about it, but they had a lot of interesting titles. And those are my recommendations for the day. And what do you think of that artwork? I think it's pretty impressive work, but of course Alex Ross, once again, one of the best comic book artists out there, even though I think mostly he just does covers and posters now, or art prints and such. So, I mean, if you track these down, if you could even find them at a convention, or you wanted to hunt them down on eBay, you probably could spend around $50 on all three of them. Again, keeping in mind that high grades are going to be really tough. Now Comics, they didn't produce the best quality books, and they didn't make very many. So it is tough to find these in a high grade. Thoughts? Do you like that recommendation? Copper Age, by the way, obviously. Copper Age recommendation. Let me know what your thoughts are. Is this something that you find interesting? Would you like to see more? Let me know in the comment section down below. I've been, picking up on this recently. People seem interested in it. Silver and bronze and copper age keys that are overlooked and underappreciated. So, again, please do comment below. Please do give the video a thumbs up if you got something out of this. I hope that you did. Check out some of our other videos. Have you not seen any of our key videos yet? It will be in a playlist along with many others. You may see something that you like. And if that's it, then what more can I say? But thanks for watching. And we will see you again soon.